Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Tushar from Scout. We're just going to give it a quick 30 seconds for people to come in, and then we'll get started. Okay, I guess we're going to get started. So just as a quick introduction, my name is Tushar. I'm actually based out of sunny Singapore, but I do make it down to Australia once in a while. A little bit about my background. Born and bred in India, but I've traveled and lived across the world for many, many years now. My background is primarily tech, and over the past 10 years or so, I've built various different tech recruitment solutions for various different markets. The solution I'm going to showcase to you guys today is called Scout. And essentially, right off the bat, when you look at it from an agency's lens, which is hopefully the audience here right now, including some leaders as well as people who are more at the execution level, you'll see that agencies typically have two or three different pockets of IP, right? The first one is the people themselves, because this is a people-centric business. The second is the number of clients or the variety of clients that you work with, right? That's definitely part of what builds the business. But then the third part of this is all of the data that you have as an agency. And what really comes about and what's really quite glaring is that that's the part that gets the least amount of attention, and that's the part that actually can help you maximize the amount of revenue that you bring to the table. So what Scout does is it's literally our mission, and our tagline is we help you monetize your candidate database. Right now, if you think about the existing tool set that you've had in place so far, each one of you has probably invested in ATS, and that's obviously the right thing to do because there's regulations, compliance, there's workflows, etc. All of those are essential to running the business, almost like a back-end operating system. But ATSs are not really designed to be sourcing tools, right? ATSs are designed to help you run your company. Um, the second thing about ATS is, unfortunately, is that the data gets obsolete. Now, that happens without you even wanting it. It's 25, 30, 40% of your data year on year because people switch jobs, they switch locations, they've got new skills, etc. And before you know it, your data isn't really worth that much. What also happens is that when you look at it from a recruiter's lens, recruiters are busy placing people, which means they don't really focus on trying to get data hygiene in place, right? Tagging their candidates, coding them up in the right way, and so on and so forth. And then the third part is that you're always investing in tools like LinkedIn or Seek or host of other sourcing tools that are out there. But those tools are designed to help the individual, not so much the company, which means there is individual benefit. Everyone gets that. But at a company level, there isn't much collaboration, which means there's only that much that you can get out of them. So as a result, sourcing remains as what you've done 10 years ago and perhaps even older than that. It's still very much an art form, right? You've got six different channels that you're after. to try and find those top 3 candidates to present to your clients. And nothing wrong with that, but then that involves a fair bit of manual process and overhead, which Scout attempts to remove, right? So let me tell you a little bit about Scout. So first things first, like I said, data is your key asset, and Scout helps you clean that up. So if you're an agency that's been going for several years, what you're going to start to notice is that your data is getting more and more clunky, right? And you either have to employ a service provider to come and help you clean it up if you've got a sizable data footprint, or if you're a small enough agency, then you're trying to put in better SOPs and trying to get your own team to try and clean that up, right? So what Scout does is it helps you leaps and bounds here. What it does is, first things first, when it actually integrates into your setup, it centralizes your data pool, which means it gathers all of your CVs across your ATS, across your inboxes, folders, zip files, etc. And then it auto cleans them up, which means it deduplicates it. It finds that it's got multiple copies. It attaches those copies together. It actually takes each data set and tags them automatically for you, right? So what that means is at any point of time after this cleanup exercise that Scout has conducted for you, you're able to dig into your database effortlessly to try and figure out exactly what you've got and what you don't, right? Again, as an agency, if you've taken the time and if you've invested the dollars to try and build up your database, then this is one easy way to try and activate that for yourselves. Right, so that happens in the background automatically. The second part is that Scout helps you maximize your LinkedIn ROI, which means when you're out there and you're actually, surfing on LinkedIn, you don't really think about views, right? You view tons of candidates and then you move on. Sometimes you create a talent map and then you move on. But what Scout does is it keeps track of every single view that you've had on LinkedIn, gives you the ability to push certain views back to your ATS, as well as it gathers and catalogs those views for you, which means if you run, let's say, a particular search for, I don't know, a data scientist role, right? You've run that search in Australia, you've gone through about 50 or 100 or 200 profiles. Now, Scouts gathered those profile set for you and cataloged them for you neatly, making them available for you for future use, not just for yourself, but everyone across the company, right? And so with all of that data set streamlined and ready to go, what Scout does is it's got a two-way sync with your ATS, which means it keeps your ATS data fresh. So if you've got a candidate sitting in a database from about 2 years ago, let's say that candidate is now way out of date, that resume is way out of date. What Scout will do is if it detects a LinkedIn profile that's got much more updates to it, it'll take that and it'll update your ATS, right, automatically, which means now that candidate record has been refreshed in your ATS with you not doing anything other than getting on with your regular routine. The second thing that it does is that it centralizes your candidate notes, right? So if you've got notes stored on LinkedIn RPS, which people do sometimes, or they've stored it in their Scout setup, what Scout does is it pulls all of that data, pushes it back to your ATS. And obviously, we connect with a fair few ATSs to streamline this for you. And the third part is it makes your entire ATS and entire candidate repository into a clickable talent map. So this one's hugely useful, again, particularly if you're trying to showcase in front of your clients on what your area of expertise is and what types of profiles you have access to. You're now able to navigate that in a few clicks. So that's all of the prep work, as we call it, right? That's how Scout keeps doing that in the background all the time automatically. But when it comes to day-to-day usage of Scout, what recruiters typically do is they just get into Scout as their first point of protocol when they get a new job and start searching. Right? And they search using simple natural language queries. Right? No more Boolean searches. Of course, you've got access to Boolean if you want that. But essentially, Scout's queries are Scout's interpreter is very, very smart. So it'll take all of the data from you, interpret that, and come back and tell you, okay, great, this is what I think your query means. And if you do confirm, then it'll give you a listing of candidates that match, also highlighting the ones that are top matches for your job. Right? What also happens is that if your ATS is wired in, and let's say if you've got a new role that you've launched on your ATS, which many recruiters do, Scout will automatically take that, run that role on Scout, and come back and drop you an email and say, hey, Joe, we've just found these 5 candidates sitting in your database. And, then Joe has a nice way to start that search very, very easily. Right? Now, one massive productivity hack that Scout does is it takes all of your resumes, extracts the phone numbers from them, and also connects them to WhatsApp. So now it seems like a small thing, but it's a massive win for a lot of agencies, because if you're going to reach out to your candidates, and a lot of them do over WhatsApp, at least these days, particularly, it's increasing quite a bit. And where I'm from in Singapore, everyone uses WhatsApp across the board. It makes it super easy to connect with your candidates, right? Which means you can go from a JD or a whiff of a JD to an entire candidate curated conversation in 30 seconds. Last but not the least, Scout also automates your outreach, which means if you said, okay, I'm going to go after these 20 candidates as part of my long list, what you can do in Scout is you can set up templates. Each template can be set up to be purpose built and say, okay, I'm going to send this 20 people an email first. And let's say the next template can be that if they didn't respond, I'm going to send them an email after a day or two, right? And all of that can be orchestrated, personalized templates using your name, your identity, going out to various different candidates, so that when they respond, if someone responds to an email, it comes directly into your inbox. If someone responds to an email, it comes directly to your email, right? Because counts that invisible layer that's just facilitating the orchestration of that messaging, right? And so this entire thing can be done as a campaign. You can choose to pause the campaign anytime you'd like, or continue it depending on how you'd say. Now we see really strong outcomes here, and sometimes you'll see as far as 50 or 60% response rates coming in from your candidates. Reason why that happens is because they now know that you're genuinely after them, right? You genuinely want to have a conversation with them because you're trying to reach out to multiple channels, and because you've sent it to a curated list, it's not spam. It's actually directed towards a very specific job for a very specific candidate, right? So it works really well. So now if I were to summarize the top three benefits of Scout, it really boils down to these three things. The first one is, like I said, it'll clean up your database. It'll update everything that it finds about new candidates and put that back in, including deduplication. And it'll tag up your entire database, making it instantly mineable. So if you've got, for example, if you've got a customer, they have, I think, about 50 plus consultants scattered across 4 different geographies. They've got a resume database of about 130 or 140,000 people. And so using Scout, within a week, their entire data set was set back into immaculate condition, which they can then mine on the go. The second part is, because you streamline your data, it becomes very easy to surface those candidates who previously wouldn't have been top of mind, but they really, really gel for that particular role. And the third part is, because now that you've got your long list in place, the tooling to actually make sure that you convert your long list into a short list by actually automating your outreach and then tracking responses. And connecting with your ATSs is a breeze. I know the word connection, integrations, etc., sometimes creates a little bit of a phobia, thinking that it's going to be a multi-month project. But with Scout, with most of the ATSs that we have in place, it's a 30-second window to connect, right? So it's as easy as that. You connect your ATS and you connect your inbox in, Scout starts centralizing the data pool. And as it's doing that, you can configure it with the templates, outreach messages, etc. And then once you've hit the play button, what you've essentially done is helped yourself automate a large part of your recruitment process, at least the sourcing process. Sorry. And behind the scenes, you receive support, which means a talent concierge will constantly observe and see what's happening with your searches. Are you getting enough candidates? Are you running the right types of queries? And they will proactively reach out to let you know if something's out of whack, or if you could actually do this in a slightly different manner to get to better results, right? So enough of the marketing deck. Now let me just show you a quick example of how Scout works. So I'm going to walk you through a quick search, right? So let's just say that you're looking for management consultants in Sydney, and let's just say that you need Big Four experience, right? So what you're doing is, now you've given a real-time search into your database, right? And hold on one second. I may have not switched to the right window. Give me 1 second. Yep, here you go. This should be fine now. Okay, awesome. We should be live again. Yeah, so switch to the Scout platform, and I'm going to run you through a very quick search so you can understand exactly how Scout works. Right, so you come to an interface once you've actually onboarded, your data has already been loaded into Scout. What you can do is you can either wire in your ATS, and when your ATS is wired in, Scout will run automatically behind the scenes, which means every time you've got a new job, you don't even need to come to Scout. But if you did want to come and run and search and try and create long lists, what you could do is you could come to a search screen, type out queries in natural language, as I had said. So let's say, find me a management consultant in Sydney with experience working at the Big Four. Right. So now, simple query, and when you actually do that, what Scout does is it first validates what the query is like, right? So it says, okay, fine, I found certain things that match based on what you've typed in. So you've got a business consultant. They're also often called consultants or business consultants. It gives you the name of the company. That's our company. But let's say if you were hiring for Accenture as a client, right? So let's say you've picked Accenture because now you've told Scout that Accenture is the company you're after, which means it'll try and map out more and more around competitors with Accenture. It'll give you key skills that it finds for the role. Of course, you can tweak that and change that as you'd like. Now, because you put in Big Four, it's going to say, okay, fine, I'm going to focus on these companies because that's what you want, right? And an industry selection. And when you hit submit, now Scout looks through the database. And again, the results you're going to see is the results coming in from my test database, but think of it in context of your database. It'll focus and flesh out candidates who now fit the bill, right? So it says, okay, fine, I've found senior consultant here who works at KPMG. I've got someone at PwC. I've got someone at Deloitte. And what it's also doing is it's giving you different sorts of tags. This person studied at a tier one university. This person was marked as a prospect because they're not really actually in your database. It's someone that you just glance through, or if people are in your database, it'll mark it as such. So now, with that backdrop, what Scout's done is it's just lined up for you a very easy list of people that you can dig through and see more details on. Now, if you've got information around salaries, etc., someone's spoken to them, you can add that to your data set. You can add emails, phone numbers, whatever else you have about the candidate. And remember, all of that data then gets parked back into your ATS automatically. So you don't need to do anything other than run your searches, consume your data, and any edits, profile modifications, etc., that Scout can find either on its own or through your injection will get mapped back into your ATS. Right. So that's one part where Scout helps you streamline. You can then select people, add them to a project. And so that project allows you to focus and narrow down and save these guys for a search now, but as well as in the future as well. Right. Now, what Scout, like I had said, what it does is the talent map function of Scout, as I was showing you before, is allows you to really peek into your entire data set, right? And as it's doing that, it essentially carves it out for you to say, what are the types of people that you've got sitting in your data, right? And it helps you sort people in different orders. It helps you find people based on who's in your prospect set and who's in your actual database. And it starts listing people for you on the right. Right, as it finds people and it finds their details, again, is pulling this all up based on what you have served. This is not external data, but data within your set network. It starts enriching the profiles automatically, starts deduplicating it, and again adding in more data back to your ATS. So far you've run a search on Scout, you saved a project, etc. And I'm going to just walk you through very quickly through the engagement tool, which essentially allows you to set up a step-by-step process of what your lead flow could look like on your nurturing process. You could say, okay, great. After an hour, I want X number of people to receive a particular template. You can style the template based on what you like. And let's say if they don't respond, you can say 2 days later, I want to send them another email, or you want to send them an in-mail, what have you, to get that entire thing going end to end. So now you've essentially taken your entire database, made it available to you on your fingertips, and then you've activated that data per each job that you're actually getting into the fold. And with that, I'm going to now pause here and open it up for any questions that you may have. Okay, I've got one question there from David. If my ATS was not listed on your side, can it be integrated with Scout? Absolutely. That's just part of how we do business is every time we've got a new ATS that's not in the fold, but you'd like that added in, it's about a 2 to 3 week process for us to do that for ATSs that we've not integrated with in the past, and then you're good to go, right? It's just as seamless as any of the other ATSs that we have in place. Certainly feel free to reach out, and we'd be happy to talk more about that offline, and also personalize this a little bit for you, right? Because what I've given you is a very generic outlay on how Scout works, but essentially when it comes to each business, there are nuances that we can work through very, very quickly with you and your team. Any other questions? Yeah, there are. That's a great question, David. Again, the question was around Recalliance and the benefits there, right? So we've got a couple of different benefits for Recalliance members, particularly. The first one is that you'd get much better pricing than the rest of the world, right? So you've got discounted rates available, which will allow you to sort of click on faster, easier payment plans, so you can do quarterly payments and things like that. And then the other part is also the way Scout is actually sold in the market is sold based on the size of your data set. And so as Recalliance members, you get sweeteners there as well, which means you get upgraded into almost the next plan at a very similar cost as the previous plan, simply so that you can start to not just use Scout in its current state, but you've got plenty of headroom to build out your business and still not have to pay for more dollars for Scout as you start to build out your team, right? Because that can get quite annoying. We've heard that from many agency owners. If you're out there and you're trying to hire 1 or 2 people, then you have to take on licenses for this, and that. But with Scout, you don't have to take on an additional license because you've already paid for that data set to be used, and it applies across most people in the company till you hit the next year. Right. Okay. This has been fun. It's about 20 minutes or so. So hopefully you guys got what you needed from this. And I'd be happy to take any questions offline and obviously, try and walk you guys through some demos so that this makes more sense in context of your business. So thanks so much to Rec Alliance for helping organize this. And I'll sync up with you guys offline. Thank you very much.